Hello, and welcome to Weed and Grub.
I think we should start with the news this week, right?
I mean, that's so topsy-turvy. I've never heard of such a bananas idea.
It feels like a little topsy-turvy all over the place, but it's solstice, near solstice, the days are long, the days are weird.
Oh, I'll tell you what, everything is wide open in California today, so if we're going to go from what was to what's now, then let's flip it on its head and do news first. Let's get nuts with this no mask mandate.
Yeah. Oh, perfect. I like this. I like shaking it up with Weed and Grub a little bit. Well, I guess we should say hello first, right?
Oh, yeah, you've got me so discombobulated doing news first that I forgot your name. What up, Mary Jane?
How's it going, Mike?
It's going good. Welcome to Weed and Grub, everybody. This is a podcast about comedy,
cannabis,
culture,
cooking,
calling shit out,
and community.
Community.
Yeah.
Ooh la la.
Yeah.
This entire episode is about community.
It's about community. It's about friends. It's about, good things happening, people shaking it up. Starting with let's talk about the news story. Let's do the Grublik Gazette first.
Let's do it. Speaking of community, the Grublik Gazette is presented by OCB Rolling Papers, the largest rolling paper brand in the world, crafted naturally since 1918.
OCB offers a full line of plant-to-puff papers made with sustainable fibers farmed within a 500-kilometer radius of their facility in France, which is powered by 100% green energy.
In 2020, OCB rolled out America's first ultra-thin, slow-burning bamboo rolling paper and cones. They're even burning, no tear, GMO-free, and vegan.
Not all rolling papers are created equal. OCB offers a premium smoking experience that we like to call Harmony on High.
Ask for OCB wherever you buy your papers and sample their entire line of products. Plus, visit OCBUSA.com and follow OCB on Instagram at OCB_USA.
If you like what we do here at Weed and Grub, please support the folks who support us. Thank you so much, OCB.
Yeah. All right, community Mary Jane. Well, you flipped this entire ep on its head. What's our news story?
Our news story this week is coming to us from marijuanamoment.net, a great resource for all of your news about cannabis. And it's a great story about the first ever congressional bill to decriminalize all drugs that has been announced ahead of the drug war anniversary that President Richard Nixon set into motion 50 years ago. That has contributed to, obviously, as we know, the war on drugs has created mass incarceration and disproportionately impacted communities of color and created collateral consequences for countless Americans who have been criminalized for possessing, sometimes just a roach in their pocket. And federal district courts would be required to facilitate expungements and record sealing for those with qualifying convictions within 1 year of the bill going into action. The bill would withhold federal funds for law enforcement, which would be, first step to defunding the police.
Abolish the police.
Yeah, so it would be a new approach to drugs. It would decriminalize personal use and possession, and it would shift the focus of federal drug policy from the Department of Justice to the Department of Health and Human Services and treat it as a health issue rather than a criminal issue, which, of course, we all know is the way that it should have been treated always.
Absolutely. So a couple things I just want to add. Happy anniversary, you piece of shit, Nixon. You fucking suck. Secondly, I want to shout out Cori Bush, the Democrat from Missouri, who is one of the sponsors of this legislation. Shout out to my home state of Missouri, doing things right. Very proud of that. And thirdly, I just wanted to dig in a little bit more because I don't know how many people know that the idea of classifying drugs comes from the Department of Justice and not from the Department of Health and Human Services. So I don't want that to be waxed over or rolled up because it's pretty freaking nuts that something that helps with for mental health, for PTSD, for cancer, for all of these things is under the Justice Department. Absolutely nuts.
The
not
entire
okay.
invention of the war on drugs was to criminalize communities of color and people who were questioning authority, like the people who were against the war in the 70s, against anti-war protesters who were protesting the draft in the Vietnam War. The creation of the war on drugs was a way to criminalize people who were questioning authority and communities of color in a way to police them. And that is, absolutely been admitted to on the record by an aide to Nixon. We all know that the war on drugs was certainly not about, worrying about people who were suffering from the effects of drugs, but it was a way to actually police communities. So you're right. Yeah. Fuck that anniversary and fuck those 50 years. And let's start making some big differences. And hopefully Congress can get this passed and get it through the Senate. We'll see how it goes. I think just the idea that it's being introduced is a very first step. And it might be a long slog, but we're here to support it and talk about it all along the way.
Yeah, I really don't believe that they have any expectation to get this passed. I think that this is like their way of waving a let's decrim everything flag and raise awareness on an anniversary of something so heinous that the only way to combat that heinous history is to use it to propel positive information moving forward. And so I'm really appreciative of how they're trying to utilize anniversaries like this to get the word out about like what the history was and what we can do with our future.
And some of the organizations behind it, including the ACLU and the Drug Policy Alliance, have actually shown that the public is ready for the policy change through recent polling. They found that 2/3 of American voters believe that the war on drugs should end. That's 2/3. Like, it's ridiculous that, people are still believing the propaganda that the war on drugs is doing any good. It's doing only harm, no good. And 2/3 of American voters realize that, and they understand that decriminalizing simple possession of currently illegal substances is a one step on the way to help and stop putting people in prison for something that should really be a social services and health issue. So it's a great story. It's at marijuanamoment.net, and we'll be following it along and hopefully bringing more news to you as it works its way through the halls of Congress.
Those are long hauls, too. So, it might take a little while. I think that every single day I have to believe that the 2/3 that already are down with this are also gradually affecting the 1/3. Like, if every single day you can get one person's mind to change who is in that 1/3 pie slice, then, that equals a 3/3, hopefully, eventually. That's the goal.
You're so right. And, that's the idea of community, is that, you affect change by affecting those around you. And I've, felt my healthiest when I'm surrounded by people and my worst when I'm isolated. And it's so important to, be a part of your community and invest in your community and, bring your message to your community. If you believe in something, whatever that is, talk to the people around you about it. And then you can help form your opinion through some healthy pushback from those people and learning from the people around you. And that's the idea of really opening up your mind to, I think one of the reasons that we're in such big trouble in this country and in the world is because people have dived into just getting their information from propaganda machines on the internet. And if you re-enter the world and spend some time around people and find that real community, not an online community, but a real living, breathing community of people who aren't necessarily all like-minded, but at least you're all good-hearted, it's a healthy place. I really found some joy in the past few days spending some time with some good folks and thinking about community. I'm just getting a little misty about it because I had some really nice time with some good friends and you this past weekend. So,
well, I'll tell you what, if you're going to come at me hot with putting the Grub Gazette up top, then I'm going to come at you equally as spicy and say I'm doing my butt of the week right now instead of waiting until the end of our intro.
Oh, okay.
Because it's all, you want to talk about misty-eyed and people discussing big ideas and changing each other's lives. Well, my life was absolutely changed this past weekend thanks to my Buds of the Week. So I'm coming in hot, Mary Jane.
Okay.
My Bud of the Week, strap in and sit down, because my Bud of the Week this week is at AJ Grondin, AJGRONDIN. That's Amy. And also her husband, Greg, who has no IG or Instagreg. Oh, no Instagreg. And they are my Buds of the Week this week because not only are they wonderful Port Townsend friends whose home we stayed in when we stayed in Port Townsend last year, but this past weekend while we were in Yakima, Washington, they taught me how to fillet an entire 14-pound king salmon, and it changed my life. I have never held a sea beast, that heavy, that with that perfect flesh, so preserved, so fresh, and then be able to use his knives that he's used on his boat for I don't even know how many years to learn how to perfectly fillet it, debone it, get that belly off. Oh my gosh, just an absolute dream. So I just want to thank Amy and Greg for not only educating me in king salmon filleting, but bringing such delicious food to the table and creating an absolutely wonderful meal that I will remember the rest of my life. That's my buds of the week. Good luck following that.
Yes, good luck following that for sure. I wanted to say to anyone who wants to know more about the Alaska fisheries, AJ Grondin on Instagram is a great follow because she and Greg take their beautiful boat, the Araminta, up to Alaska. They're actually leaving this weekend to go and fish for salmon all summer. And it's just an awesome look into the real lives of fishermen in Alaska. They troll for fish, which means it's a hook and line, no bycatch fishery. It's sort of like one of the top ways to catch salmon. Every salmon is brought on board perfectly, not in a net, not a scale disturbed, and each fish is perfectly treated before they're packed and sold. It's the most amazing follow. So, and I worked with them.
Yeah.
Greg was my skipper for years, so I learned a lot from him. He's a great teacher.
Before you get to your bud of the week, I just want to add the way that they did the blooding or bloodletting, I'm not sure what it's called, of the salmon, where they stick something in its spine and they just suck all of the blood out of every single vein, capillary. No, what is it? Because that was fascinating.
They don't actually suck it out. They push it through. They put basically a hose that they push to the base of the spine, and then they run water and they sort of flush all of the blood out of the veins through this water. It's it's an amazing process. It's really, really cool.
It was an amazing experience.
We have some great pics. We just shared some on the Instagram. We'll share more and put more in the stories. And I honestly think, Mike, we could do an entire episode just on king salmon and what Amy and Greg and some other friends from Port Townsend do. It's just one of the most beautiful ways to be connected to what you're eating, to catch that gorgeous fish and then feel what it's like to actually cut it up perfectly. And you did such a great job. You learned how to do it
Thank you.
On the fly. It was really cool to watch.
Well, my ego is so out of control now that I've done it once that when you said we could do a whole episode about king salmon, I was like, yeah, are you talking about me? I'm king salmon. Is that, oh yeah, we can talk about me for an hour. Please, I welcome it.
Yeah, I would want you to go toe to toe with me for an entire season on an Alaskan salmon tender and see how you do, because there's more to it than just cutting up the fish. There's a lot of shoveling and hard work and swabbing decks and cleaning and getting up early and staying up and manual labor and all that stuff,
I don't know about that. I know that you clean a fish once, you get some likes on Instagram, and you're basically a pro. So let's see what happens. Let's do a summer on Amy's boat.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's get super strong, super hot, calloused hands, and, really give back to the world that's been feeding us. I'm down.
And I remember the days when I worked on the tender under Greg, which is now they're fishing, but we were on a salmon tender, which would buy fish from the fishermen, and it was a different kind of hard work. But one of my really most excited moments was when I realized I developed this special thumb muscle, and I would flex it and show it off. I felt really cool because I had this new thumb muscle from my knife skills. So yeah, we should do it.
Let's do it. You had a hand bicep?
Yeah, it's the same muscle. I was showing it off to one of my dude friends, and he was like, oh yeah, that's the same muscle that I have from playing bass. It's one of the, it's from using your dexterousness a lot. It develops certain muscles in your hands. So.
Well, best of luck on our Arminta this upcoming season. Who's your bud of the week, Mary Jane?
My bud of the week are the entire Hansen family, who are the reason that we had this time with Greg and Amy and my sister Caroline and Walt and some other friends in the Yakima Valley in Washington. Charlie and Lucy Hansen and Harper and Lark and Harper's friend Nadia were our hosts for a few days in this incredible spot that is like a family estate, and they have orchards, and we ate fresh cherries, and we saw hops being grown, and we walked around and met some cows and chickens, and what a time. It was just beautiful. And there was this one afternoon where we all brought blankets down by the creek and set up sort of, to just nap and eat snacks, and a badminton net was set up, and there was some, golfing happening in the distance. Like Greg was hitting a ball around. It was great.
What's that painting where it's like the person I remember most in the painting is a woman's profile and she's holding an umbrella and she has like a big box kind of skirt dress and everybody's laying on the lawn. You know the painting. It's pretty iconic, right?
I totally thought of it, and I should look up the name of it, but anyone who's listening is probably knows the title and is screaming at us like what it is. It was one of the French Impressionists or French painters from the early part of the 20th century. Anyway, I can't remember. Also, can I just say, earlier that day, you and I split an edible and walked around the orchard and just had like a true moment of like, I always think like that's what weed is made for, is to like put you just where you're not thinking about anything that's to come. You're not thinking about what happened yesterday. You're just truly breathing in the air and feeling the sun on your face. And we like talked to some cows, and then we had a bit where we were doing like maybe the cows are biomechanical warfare weapons being developed by the American government that are going to turn into like razor sharp teeth creatures that are going to eat you, and then I'm going to be locked up in a secure facility, and then everyone's going to be like, where did they go? That's what weed is for.
Yeah, that's exactly what weed is for. That would be my luck. Like the one time I get to go and hop a fence to pet a cow, and it turns out that it's a bioengineered half Tasmanian devil, half cow that the government is building so that we can have animal warfare.
Razor sharp teeth.
I mean,
so scary.
Razor sharp teeth.
Yeah.
Its eyes turn red. It rips me to shreds, and a helicopter drops down, and you disappear. And then
everyone's by the creek hanging out, and they're like, where did they go? Little did they know we ate weed edibles and got kidnapped by the U.S. government after we stumbled upon a biological experiment with cows.
Cowmanian devils?
Yes, Cowmanian devils for sure. That I can't come up with anything better. I wanted to say, because it relates to a conversation that we have with our VIBs about outdoor dining. When we were talking to one of our guests and we used the word picnic, I wanted to do some digging into it because he raised a question about it and the origins of the word picnic. And so we did a little digging, and we just wanted to share what we found. And I wanted to read a little bit directly from an article about the term picnic from Reuters, because the origins of the word picnic were called into question as having racist origins. So from Reuters, according to an author named Dr. David Pilgrim, the word picnic derives from a 17th century French word pique-nique, which is a term used to describe a social gathering in which attendees each contributed a portion of food or another useful item. And he writes that a 1692 edition of a book on the origins of the French language, includes the word pique-nique. Since the derivative word picnic didn't appear in the English language until around 1800, it suggests that it didn't originate in the U.S. However, the settings in which the lynching of Black people occurred in the U.S. during the 19th and 20th centuries could have been appropriately described as picnic-like. Historians have documented that killings by white mobs frequently became public spectacles, and a project by the Equal Justice Initiative entitled Lynching in America notes that during the late 1800s and early 1900s, quote, white men, women, and children present watched the horrific murders while enjoying deviled eggs, lemonade, and whiskey in a picnic-like atmosphere.
Fucking brutal.
Yeah, so to just summarize, the word picnic, according to this article in Reuters, doesn't originate from these brutal killings, but there is sufficient evidence to corroborate that these often occurred in gatherings that could be referred to as picnics. And this was just really important to me to dive into in light of our conversation with our VIBs, and you can listen to our guest Mandela talk about it in our interview, but I just wanted to raise it because it was such an important point when he brought it to our attention.
If we're going to have community, we got to talk about hard things as well and learn from them. Yeah. That's what community is all about, you know?
Community is about...
It makes the circle tighter.
Yeah, it's so important for me to... community is about conversation and hearing things that are hard to hear and then diving into them and learning more and having an open mind at all times. Like, that's just everything for me. That's what this podcast is about. That's why I love having pushback with you on things and learning from you and everyone around me. So before we move on to our VIBs and introducing them and talking a little bit about Oaksterdam and the amazing work that they did there, can I just talk a little bit about the tri-tip that we had for dinner last night after you left, because you didn't get to experience it and I just wanted to make you jealous. I didn't really know about that cut of meat until I moved to the West Coast. And It's just like a really incredible piece of beef that was grilled perfectly. And I'm so excited. The reason I bring it up is because after you and I finish talking today, I am going to make beef stroganoff for the very first time ever with the leftovers. And I'm so excited because I've never made beef stroganoff before, but I have a recipe that includes a lot of sour cream and mushrooms and onions and nutmeg and basil.
Basil?
Yeah.
Yum. I feel like beef stroganoff got a bad rap because of the whole TV dinner the groundswell of TV dinner as community of the 70s or 80s, sometime right before I was born, but it certainly carried over into the 80s and 90s. And so beef stroganoff has this bad rap as this frozen food in front of Maury Povich bullshit. But I gotta say, every time I've ever had it, it's a top pasta dish for me. It's fucking delicious, and it does not deserve the what's the word? It's been painted as something lesser than when it's not.
Its reputation has been damaged by the TV dinners. I think there are many incredible dishes like chicken marsala, I feel like, chicken Milanese. Like there are some, I think, pretty classic dishes that you just poo-poo because you're like, no, gross. That's like a weird thing that comes in a box that's tasteless that you microwave. But I think when it's fresh, it's like a super exciting dish.
Yeah, Salisbury steak and meatloaf. Right there.
Right.
Beef stroganoff, Salisbury steak, meatloaf. They are so good. Do not let the TV dinner era poo-poo this delicious food.
Don't let that poop on your food. I will never forget the first time that I had pasta primavera, real pasta primavera, made with fresh spring vegetables tossed in fresh pasta instead of, even like an Olive Garden pasta primavera is fucking delicious. But, I'd only ever really had this sort of like the frozen kind of like maybe the lean cuisine pasta primavera. And then I've sort of graduated to the like Cheesecake Factory Olive Garden pasta primavera. And then I had pasta primavera, and I was like, oh, mamma mia, it's fucking delicious. And I just saw our friend Allie Lou tweet the other day, she'd never had a strawberry that tasted as good as it looked. And I was like, I learned about this from my dad, who grew up eating wild strawberries, which are like super, super tiny, and they're covered in seeds, and they're nothing like these giant fucking commercial strawberries that you get. And a tiny, tiny wild strawberry is the craziest thing to put in your mouth. It pops, and it's just insane flavor. And those big fat fuckers that are Monsanto to death, that are, it's like buying farm salmon. You get those huge fucking fat salmon, and it doesn't even taste like anything because it's just farmed. And then you taste a beautiful piece of king salmon like you had, and you understand the difference. So I just want to say, fuck GMOs, fuck factory farming, and fuck TV dinners.
On that strawberry tip, where the smaller ones are a lot better than the big ones, I think we can all agree that carries over into other topics as well. And there's a lot of room for small things that pack a big punch in the world. And I'm not going to name what I'm talking about, but we can all agree that it's not always the size that counts.
Okay, good. I want to talk about this with you more, maybe on a Patreon app, because I just saw a sign for a coffee shop called The Human Bean, and I was like, is that talking about a clit? Or I don't know, but let's...
How big was that coffee shop?
It was like a roadside stand, but it was called The Human Bean. And I was like, did you name your coffee shop after the clitoris? Because that is what some people refer to their clit as, is their bean. So then I didn't know.
I know.
Anyway,
because
you
flick
know
the bean.
Yes.
Yeah, of course
okay.
I know
I'm
that.
glad
You flick a bean.
Okay, all right.
Maybe it's a woman-owned coffee shop, and they're like, let's call it the clit.
Or maybe it's, I have so many theories, but I think we need to dedicate a little section on a Patreon to talk about this.
Okay. All right, great. Because you really backtracked on the joke you were about to make, and you really swallowed it down.
There's too much to get into.
Love it, Mary Jane. I wish you were here recording with me so we could celebrate Oaksterdam together.
I know. This was so great. Thank you so much to Natalie at Oaksterdam for introducing us to our VIBs because, we've been just so excited to have conversations with Natalie at Oaksterdam. First off, Oaksterdam University is America's first cannabis college. It was founded in November 2007 by a medical marijuana activist. That's hard to say 3 times.
The teet-to-toot-to-tot-to-tee.
Richard Lee. He was inspired to create Oaksterdam after visiting the Cannabis College in Amsterdam. And Natalie, who is a program director at Oaksterdam, had reached out to us and asked us to adjudicate the program where the pitch contest that Cassandra's Harvest, our guests, actually won. It was so amazing. We got to sit and watch all of these presentations from folks who had been through this amazing class.
Well, I mean, Oaksterdam is the most recognized and biggest cannabis college in the world. So if you're going to go to a cannabis college, this is not only the one to go to, but this is the one that will hopefully like open up an entire world and community to you that will set you off on a real career in the weed game, which everybody is welcome, and we're all here trying to make the world a better place through it. So I can't say enough about how that's what Oaksterdam is all about, and that's why Cassandra's Harvest won.
And part of their deal was that we would have them as guests on Weed and Grub after their big wins. So Lo and Mandela are two representatives of the winning team, Cassandra's Harvest. Their vision for Cassandra's Harvest, which was really cool. Do you want to talk about it a little bit before we intro Lo and Mandela?
Absolutely. Well, they sent us their deck, which is how they presented it, and I took some screenshots. So we're going to share those screenshots on our IG to support this episode. But ultimately, Cassandra's Harvest is an East Bay dispensary located in the heart of West Oakland, and the idea is that it would be within walking distance to Planned Parenthood and the Grocery Collective, and it would be accessible by public transportation. It would be affordable and community-owned, with the priority on hiring local residents who have been impacted by the war on drugs. In addition to partnering with equality employment programs,
Equity
they would buy
employment.
from women. Thank you. In addition to partnering with equity employment programs, they would buy from women and Black-owned growers and growers with their own equity programs in place. Plus, they would have events where the communities of color would learn about legal, entrepreneurial, and overall cannabis education that they have all been deprived of. I mean, what more can you ask for in this game that is full of super rich white dudes profiting off the fucking backs of people who are imprisoned and disenfranchised than a place in the middle of West Oakland like Cassandra's Harvest that brings community together for all the right reasons and then gives back to that entire community too. Ugh! I'm inspired. I fucking love this shit, Mary Jane. I fucking love it.
Me too. It was really cool to talk to Lo and Mandela, and they represented their whole team, and we're so grateful for their time to come on Weed and Grab and talk about the work that they are doing, their vision for what the cannabis industry could be and how it needs to and should give back, and through their work, what they're doing to ensure that that's happening. It was just a really cool conversation. I'm so grateful for their time, and to Natalie again at Oaksterdam for introducing us and having us as folks who were part of that panel to listen to all of the amazing teams present their work.
100%. This is a real combo with real good people.
Yeah.
So without further ado, here is our interview with
Lo, Nuñez Gonzalez, and Mandela Msanii of Cassandra's Harvest. Thank you so much for joining us, Lo and Mandela. It's awesome to have you here as representatives of the winning team from the Business Challenge at Oaksterdam University. Congratulations on winning. Thank you so much for coming on Weed and Grub to tell us about yourselves and what you do and who you are and everything you learned at Oaksterdam. I'm so excited to get into it with you. First off, can you just introduce yourselves?
Thanks for having us. My name is Lo, and I was like the group chair, I suppose, so I was really just in charge of communication and setting up meetings. I'm really excited to be here, honestly. Cannabis is a huge passion of mine, and working with Mandela and the rest of our group mates, B, Dylan, and they were all just so amazing.
Yeah, it was the whole vibe when we watched your presentation. Your group just seemed super in sync with a great vision. So really looking forward to hearing about how that came about. Mandela, can you tell us a little bit about yourself first?
My name is Mandela Msanii. I am the eyes
CEO.
the CEO of Cassandra's Harvest. My specialty are events and the neighborhood, the community. I was the voice to the streets, the voice to the people that we were looking to support. And I think that's what made us so unique, is actually having that voice and that being something that we are making very important.
Would you talk a little bit about Let's start with Oaksterdam and then Cassandra's Harvest, and then also dive deep into who you both are individually and how it all came together. So what brought you, Lo, to Oaksterdam?
Well, actually, I graduated from Portland State virtually last June, and right after, I really thought that the only way to get a professional spot in the industry was through retail or distribution ownership, right? So I started working at a dispensary, and during my interview, the then manager let me know that she was actually at one point valedictorian or whatever of Oaksterdam, and I was like, what even is Oaksterdam, whatever? And so I instantly started looking it up, and I found out that it was the first cannabis trade school college kind of thing in the US, which was just so amazing and interesting. And, she told me that she was a valedictorian, so I was like, okay, well, it's clearly possible to do something like that, and I was just so intrigued by it. And my job at the time, the dispensary that I worked at right now, and then I worked as a bud tender, they actually offered this program where if you took any of the courses, whether it's the self-paced ones or the semester, they reimbursed it. As long as you passed with above a B, they reimbursed it. And I've always been the kind of person to take all of the free opportunities that I can get. And so it's hell yeah, let's do the semester, include the bud tending certification, this and that. And yeah, so that's kind of how I learned about it and how I begun the program.
Awesome. How about you, Mandela? How did you join Oaksterdam University?
Wow. So I was at a cannabis event. I don't even want to give y'all the year, but it was a while ago, and a good friend, her name was Tally, was having an event, and they were giving scholarships. It was actually doing Pride Month? I think it was. So she was giving scholarships to the LGBTQ community, trans community. And I happened to get a scholarship as well, being a queer black male. And that's literally how I got into Oaksterdam, was through her and Get Her Done Productions. So, yeah. Wow. And my journey in this industry has been a lot, and has been very informative and eye-opening. So to be able to go to what seems like the pinnacle with my expertise and my experience, was really great. So, Tally, if you're listening, that scholarship was not wasted, and I really appreciate you for giving me the opportunity to, uplift myself and have access to this knowledge.
Now that you graduated from the program, are you both working in the cannabis industry today?
Yeah, for sure. I know Mandela has been working in this industry, and I started working at a bud tender. I was working as a bud tender for a different company, and I, stuck around with them for a while, not really always wanting to, but they were paying for this thing, so I had to stuck around with them. And once I graduated and everything from the program, I've been able to move on to a different dispensary that just aligns so well with my goals and my values, and they're just amazing. They are so much more than retail. They actually invest in their community and do fundraising and all of these things that I have been wanting to attach myself to. And so I'm still working in the industry, but I'm just way more satisfied because I'm actually, connected to something that I align with.
That's so beautiful, Lo. Yeah, I've been in the industry, as Lo said, for quite some time. Getting my start at it was a consignment clothing store and a Measure Z club. So the store was called Town Biz, and the actual elevated portion of it actually became the People's Dispensary. And I got my start with people from the community as wellness, not just getting high or smoking or, it was black bodies, queer bodies coming in and saying that, I need this for me, my wellness, dealing with these white people, all that stuff, unapologetically. And that ecosystem and that community inspired me to actually create my own program. So I have a SB 34 compassion program that uplifts and shares education specifically for the Black community and highlights us and our struggles and our stories. And it gets us medicine. So in my graduation of Oaksterdam, I've been in this. I was doing this way before I went to Oaksterdam, and I look forward to doing more in my time after, because now I have this network, this ecosystem. Like even in our team, we were like, all right, well, what's more strategic to be on this call, to be in this space, to hold space, you know? Like I really feel that we became a family. Like this process was hard for me. My mother passed away all while every Wednesday or every Saturday, like we had meeting after meeting, and I just stayed present, stayed communicative as I could, and like we all held it down for each other, and it was so beautiful to just see my little school family that came from this project.
Sorry to hear about your mother. Yeah. That's
I appreciate
that's
you.
real. Before we get into Cassandra's Harvest and that final project, I'd love to go back from what you just talked about a bit, because in Cassandra's Harvest, what resonated with both of us was that like pie chart of community giving back, a central hub for people to come to and connect, like not only as a great hang, but a flag planted in the ground that says like all are welcome and we want to welcome all. Is that coming from your family? Is that coming from you because you didn't have that growing up? Like, where is this sense of community and needing to be, needing to make an impact to the world come from for both of you? Again, starting with Lo, just because that seems to have been the system so far. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it, you know?
Honestly, for me, like, I've always been involved in community development. Like, since, both of my parents are immigrants. So since I was young, I've had to be involved in just like volunteer work and activism to a really extreme sense. And so I'm used to not having any resources for you just because we are all like, you know, part of this community that's neglected. And so I'm lucky enough to have this upbringing where I know what it's like to have to fend for yourself and fight for yourself. So that's why I think, you know, in historically disenfranchised communities, we have that solidarity, because we don't have, you know, the big man looking out for us all the time. We have the big man literally out against us. And so that's why I think that goes back to like Cassandra's Harvest and the values. We really wanted it to be more than just a dispensary. There's enough retail dispensaries. This is not just another Walmart or Walgreens, you know, like you have to prepare people with how to like know their rights, their legal rights. That was a big like fictional event that we wanted to have, but like things where people who are from the inside and we know that kind of knowledge that we don't have, you know? Mm-hmm. So now that we do have a privileged enough position to have this power, these resources, we want to give all that back, right? So I think that for me anyway, the experience has always been, because we have always been neglected by the system, we kind of have to fend for ourselves and make our own little kins.
I'm just going to piggyback off of Lo, because it's just gang all around here at Cassandra's Harvest. But for me, the community is the light source. So if you are coming into a neighborhood or a situation and you're not uplifting the people that's around you in that situation, then you're not serving anybody but yourself. So I've always known that that's the hub. And being in this industry, as long as I have been in this industry, I have seen the boys club. I have seen the little cliques. And I'm just like, I'm from the class of people who's been most affected by the drug war. So my whole act of being is revolution in itself. And there are people that are making millions, while there are people that look like me still incarcerated. Mothers, fathers, sisters, wives, like queer people, trans people, while people get to have these dispensaries and charge out the ass. Mm-hmm. Mind you, like there's no shortage in weed money. And to just see that and just know that, like, yo, our dollar is very important. We have the power. If us as a people were like, you know what, I'm only going to mess with the dispensaries who really serve me, who really have my values number one.
Yeah.
And to bring it back to what I'm doing with compassion, it really just shows who's really for us. Because now with compassion, you can mark off, this is just for medical patients and it not be taxed. So the companies who, oh, I didn't know about this or I didn't know about that. Well, you know, like here's your direct line to be able to serve the community that you're in. Because a lot of the times when you do have there's the license that's involved, that's a certain amount of money. So it's not like these companies, they might not have the big company money, but there has to be a give and take when it comes to the community. And I've seen from my years of being an activist and holding space for the community, that's what they want. They want to feel like I'm not just in here spending my dollar. I'm here to get wellness.
Let's talk about that specifically with Cassandra's Harvest, because I know part of your mission statement was to support by buying from women-owned and Black-owned businesses specifically and social equity. Can you talk about just the very specifics of what Cassandra's Harvest looked like and whether or not you think that that's a real business model that you would like to introduce into the world?
Well, I know that, you know, within our like buying procedures that we had made up, a big part of it was ensuring that all of these businesses were genuinely not only owned by, you know, diverse populations, but also empower their employees and not just carry these like labels of, you know, we are Black owned, we are women owned, because I think that that's become really big with like performative allyship, and I think that just investigating and always always questioning all of that stuff, you know, that was a big aspect in our procedures.
Can you say more about money language?
Like we see it all the time. Like equity is a money word. It's a one that folks use very often, and oftentimes folks aren't as equitable as they seem. And one of the things that I really was pushing for with Cassandra's Harvest is equity being an action word, not just a word, you know? Because if we're going to say equity, then what are we doing that's equitable? And how are we bigging up the folks that have been most disenfranchised in a real way? Because a lot of the times, these people use these words, even Black Lives Matter, you know? They use these words to say that I support a thing, but they really don't. And a word only goes so far.
Yeah.
It's action. So what actions are we doing? We actively want to turn the community and change how the dollar circulates by making more owners, making more businesses, making people and offering education. Because once you're able to educate yourself in this industry, it's a whole different world for you. And a lot of the times in the disenfranchised community, education was one of the first things that were taken. Don't let them learn about themselves. Don't let them know themselves. Because if they know themselves, then they don't need us.
And then you have companies like Chevy Trucks who are like, this Pride Month, we've got low APR financing. Go Pride and get a truck. And
oh my God,
right?
I can't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy.
Cannabis companies are doing that too.
Yeah.
I've already seen like the products that we carry at our store, they have like all of these like little, you know, rainbows on them, and I'm like, this is beautiful and amazing, but like, have you supported them in the past, or is it just right now? Like that's all, you know, ties in performative allyship. What are your actions?
Performative allyship. Oh my fucking gosh, low. Yes. Because
it's everywhere in this business.
Yeah, what
it
are you
definitely
doing?
is.
Yeah. Don't put a pride flag on just for this month, and then, you know, what are you doing the rest of the year?
Oh my gosh.
Money.
Come on now. Right. That's what the holidays are. Like, don't treat me bad all year and then on a holiday be like, here's your gift. Like, no. Like,
wow.
Like, me and Lo and the rest of our team definitely are standing in the light of our ancestors and knowing that, like, even though this was a project, this is still something very true to our hearts.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I'm sure that's what like stood out to everyone. Like, this is not just I'm really thinking of ways to, how can I incorporate what I'm doing with these folks? Or how can I I see Lo does this thing. Like, how can I work with Lo in the future? Like
honestly, the ideas that we came in are, I wrote my senior sociology thesis thing on the racist and discrepancies that exist in the industries. These are things that I've been saying, and I had multiple like presentations with the company that I worked at one point, telling them like, these are the initiatives we should take. Oh, we should host like these kind of workshops, or do like literally the same values, the same mission, the same every single thing I've been saying, because this is my passion. Like, this is what, all of us, this is what we've been saying. And we've all just kind of been like ignored little pieces here and there. And so for us to have that platform, I think we all really just gave it our all, because we were like, damn, like they're finally listening. Like, this is it, like it's all fake. We were like, fuck yeah, $1 million budget. Like, yeah. So it really was more than just a project to us.
Yeah, I was thinking about it because you were the business team that won, but I'm seeing so much more about your entire team as, coming out into the world as cannabis educators as well as entrepreneurs to tell the story of your communities and making the cannabis industry pay attention to the people that they really need to take a look at right now.
Yeah, yes. And like I just want to quickly mention B, who is unfortunately not able to make it today. They are a very diverse person too, and they, I think, represent like the gender fluid community very well, as well as the autistic community very well. And they just shine light on so many issues that are underrepresented in society. There are other types of minorities that exist in the industry and are getting neglected. And I think that we had a very interesting group that was able to speak their lived truths very well. And we all brought that to the table very well.
I wanted to transition a little, because this is Weed and Grub, and talk about snacks. Because, they're kind of...
I love food.
Yo, right? Like, they're kind of the most important thing in the world.
I love food.
So what are we cooking? What are we snacking on? What are you hankering for right now?
I don't eat animal products, so that already limits a lot of my stuff. But I'm huge on, like, nuts and popcorn and, like, yeah.
Do you have that vegan restaurant or recipe that is your go-to, where you're like, look out friends, I'm about to blow your mind?
Oh my god. Well, actually, I make salsa that's infused that people hella like, and also
okay, I want my
like
now.
yeah, for real. And also like vegan banana chocolate chip muffins that are infused and stuff.
Wait, we gotta go back to the salsa.
Let's go back to the salsa.
Let's just hold everything. We need to know about infused salsa. What are you infusing? Olive oil, or what part of it is infused?
Yes, well, okay. I already use like an infused olive oil that we have here in Santa Cruz that's local, but I just like make my own salsa, and it's 1,000 milligram like little thing. So I just like make a whole big batch of it, and then I just literally just send it, pour that bitch in, mix it in, and then people go crazy. And like actually, they really like it because like the whole thing's 1,000 milligrams, right? But like you just get a few like things. It's like a microdose almost, but it's pretty good. And like the lime and the cilantro flavor just like overpower the cannabisy flavor a little bit, so it tastes like great. So yeah,
put me down for a jar.
Fire.
What's your snack game, Mandela?
What's up?
What's your snack game or your food game? What are you cooking?
What are you bringing to the picnic?
Yeah.
Well, to be truthfully and honest, I don't use the word picnic because of its context and how it was used back in the day. So I like.
Can you say more about that, please? Yeah.
So the word picnic comes from the word pick a nigga. And,
really?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So there's a lot of little things that are in our society that have very racial context. But that where people would come around
Thank you for letting me know that.
They would have their picnic basket and hang a motherfucker from a tree. So
Man,
wow.
God.
I definitely want to, in my own standing for my own truth, and just, with these platforms that I come across and people who are wanting to listen, like open up these minds. And
fuck yes, thank you.
Yeah, literally, thank you.
But what's in my basket? I love seafood. I remember we did an infused salmon one time. And we got a roommate of our, like a past roommate, really, really high. But I love.
He just laughs.
I love burritos. I had a burrito yesterday. They make me very happy, especially when they're really good. And I believe a burrito can stand alone and just be rice and beans and no meat.
Whoa.
Like, if you can do that, then like you're official. Yeah. So this place that I go to, I'm not going to give it away because I don't want to see your faces at my spot.
Damn it.
But if you're ever in Oakland and want to get a burrito, let me know and I'll take you. Then you'll know.
Done.
But until then, I'm not going to take it. But I get this bean and cheese burrito, and and I get a lime, and I just fucks it up. Like, it's amazing. And I'm just like, you have no meat, no extraness. You know, it's just some cheese, some refried beans, some good rice, and some sour cream, and a tortilla.
Wow.
Damn.
Do you have something that you love to smoke right now that goes nicely with that burrito?
Oh, so I keep dropping these selfless plugs, and I'm going to continue to. But I have a compassion program called Black Can of Joy, and we've been blessed to have some fire products given to us via our sponsors. And I want to shout out Santa Cruz Farms. I've been smoking their strawberry bananas.
Oh my God, Santa Cruz Canna Farms, 34% or 31% testing, right?
Yeah.
Is it that one?
Yeah.
Oh, it's so fire.
Oh yeah, strawberry
So
bananas. Yeah. And so I have this event where I let because my focus is the joy part, right? So we have the wellness, the people, and the joy. So when I do my box days, I have events, and the last one I had comedians come out. I had DJs come out. Just to sum that all up, Santa Cruz Farms was in attendance, and they gave me this half ounce of strawberry bananas, and it was just it's an uplifting, social, like the terpene profile was so amazing, and it just felt really good. Like, yeah. I like flowers that make you feel good, you know?
What about yourself, Lo? What are you excited about right now?
Honestly, that strawberry bananas is so fire. So that one is really good. No cap. But I really have been liking, I was smoking this one called Forest Fruit, which is by one of my favorite growers here in Santa Cruz. And it's actually used with a really new, like, regenerative method of growing called hugelkultur, I believe. Which we learned about a little bit, but basically, to my understanding, it just preserves the nutrients very well in the flower, and it was so similar to just like a classic Jack Herrera, like just so piney but also kind of spicy, and it was like so creative, like amazing. And I love smoking right before like my runs and stuff too, so I just have something to think about in the background, and so I just like blazed up, got hella high, and then it was just like, like, so yeah, that.
I would be fucking up if I didn't pitch a like sesh with that Santa Cruz strain, your salsa, and these secret non-meat burritos as like just like boy oh boy.
That sounds like such a good time.
Yeah.
We gotta make that happen.
I know. Everyone, y'all are invited.
Yep.
Cool.
Thank you.
Yep.
Well, before we go, can you give us your plugs, where we can find you, where we can look out for everything that you are doing?
Well, my Instagram handle, if you all want to follow it, is _LaRainbow_. So that's just, again, _LO rainbow _. And then I actually had my first article go like live public, which I'm really excited about, and that was through the Cannabis Workers Coalition. They're an amazing organization that's based in Portland, the Pacific Northwest, that like literally advocate for the exact demographics that we're talking about. And if you want to find that, that's through their website, and it's just called Beyond Regulation. I'm really excited about it. It's the only like public thing that I've had so far, but I guess this now, right? We're going up.
Congrats.
So,
we'll put that article in our show notes too.
Oh, perfect. Yeah. So, yeah.
If you would like to find me on Instagram, my personal Instagram is music_raw. So it's MUZIK_RA. If you would like to find out how you can support and be a part of Black Can of Joy, you can find us on Instagram as well. And that's BLKCANNAJOY. And lastly, I do work with lots and lots of artists, preserving this culture of Oakland. and inspiring to the future. So if you would like to tap in with me on that front, you can hit me at ANY, the letter X, MEANS. So that's any X means. And I talk back. I love to meet new people. I love to collab. I love to network. And I am so thankful that we have this opportunity to have these conversations, because when people are talking, people are listening.
And when people are listening, they get inspired, and then maybe they'll go do nice things with their rich money.
Come on, tagline. Look, the Cannabis Harvest. You feel me? You know what I'm saying?
It's true.
Yeah, it's true.
It's so true. It feels, it's important.
Yeah,
it's real.
So important. Y'all are cool as hell. Thank you so much for this conversation.
Yeah, it's all
and
love.
for everything.
Yeah.
If you would like to follow us, we are at Weed and Grub on Instagram. Our email is wg@weedandgrub.com. Hit us up about anything. I'm addicted to my phone, so I'll probably see it right away. Give us a 5-star review on Apple iTunes if you can. And thank you all so much. We'll see you again soon. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.